Aloha kakahiaka. Welcome, Ekomamai, to the final day of our first Joint Technology Expo. And given the great program, wonderful energy, and fantastic tips and strategies that we've seen over these last 2 days, certainly not the last. In fact, you would probably not be surprised to hear that we've heard many, many great comments and feedback. And for whatever reason, in the behind the scenes, we're crazy enough to think about what we might do next for the joint memberships of the West Hawaii Association of Realtors, Hawaii Island Realtors, and Kauai Board of Realtors. On behalf of my CEO, Faith Geronimo, COO, Colleen Yasuhara, the whole behind the scenes team that are watching and tracking the chat if you have any questions or technical difficulties, and of course, with great recognition to Karen Ono, Karen Shaw, and Kehau Costa, I want to welcome you all here for our Wednesday program for the Joint Technology Expo with the theme Adapt and Thrive. We've had a great program so far, from cybersecurity to Nobuhata kicking things off, and we're going to have Nobuhata at the end of today's program to wrap things up with a look forward and a peer into his crystal ball as to what lays ahead in 2021. But today's program starts off with a session dedicated to storytelling and social media. As you saw in yesterday's morning panel with your fellow professionals talking about what they do and how they're doing to adapt and thrive, social media came up quite a lot, and in the breakouts, a lot of questions and tips on everything from how to use Instagram versus Facebook, Facebook business pages, and even TikTok. So we are very excited to bring to you one of the preeminent local experts on social media marketing, Denise Laitinen. Denise Laitinen has 25 years of experience in the marketing field, and currently does a lot of work, not just with community groups and the government on Hawaii Island, but also independently as DLC Media, where she presents classes for the community and for businesses, including realtors, about digital marketing and related topics. So let's welcome Denise onto our stage. She'll tell you a little bit more about herself, and then she'll get into her presentation on storytelling and digital marketing. Denise, uh, click your camera icon and your microphone icon, and there
Hey,
you are.
Ryan. Good
Welcome.
morning. Good morning.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
All right. I'm
Happy.
going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Do I just click on the stage? Yes? Okay.
Nope, nope, nope. You'll stay right here. Stay right here, and I'm going to bring up your slides.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Ryan is actually helping me with my slides today because I was having some tech challenges. And so, starting off with my presentation, and you're probably thinking to yourself, this is a talk about digital storytelling. Why is she showing a picture of an antique typewriter? And for those of you who have taken my classes before or who have ever received my business card, you know that the antique typewriter is my logo. And it's very mindful in that as the digital world changes, the foundations of marketing and the foundations of the principles of which you need to succeed do not change. So when you have those old school principles, when you have that right foundation, the house can be contemporary, can be Gothic, can be whatever the style, as long as you're based in the correct foundation. So jumping into a little bit about me, as Ryan said, I am a marketing consultant. I'm also a social media trainer, and I do trainings for brokerages. I specialize in, my classes specialize in helping small businesses, to the point that I was recognized actually as the media person of the year for Hawaii Island by the Small Business Association back in 2018. I also have a really strong writing background. I've been the former press club, Big Island Press Club president, received their Distinguished Service Award last year, and on the board of directors for Social Media Club. So I do trainings for brokerages. I do social media for food festivals, for different festivals, for organizations, giving talks for legislators, for community groups, but I'm also a writer and also a content creator. So that's really my jam, is that I provide content, and I do a lot of ghostwriting for realtors. Next one, Ryan. So in the digital storytelling era that we are in, which is basically, you know, video, text, and some images, and you're a digital storyteller. I've been featured on a variety of outlets. I wrote for the Maui News for 7 years. I've written 70 features for Keola magazine. So my background as I approach marketing is from a journalism point of view, and how I approach my blogging and the marketing that I do for my real estate clients, and I specialize in luxury real estate market here on the Big Island, is from a journalism point of view. And that kind of ties into my motto, my company's motto, which is I'm passionate about sharing people's stories. Because my motto is, because people's stories deserve to be told. Each of the realtors in this room, and next one, Ryan, everybody has a story. Every home has a story. Every community has a story. And so, you know, the picture on the left depicts a Grom, that's, for those that don't know, the term for a young surfer, body surfer. Calvin there on the left is such an amazing boogie boarder that by the time he was 12, he had a board named after him. And of course, everybody knows the person on the right, Kim Kardashian. And, you know, I think in today's age, people need more stories about these hidden gems like Calvin, who's just doing amazing things, as opposed to seeing another selfie from Kim Kardashian next. And so, you know, a few of you have seen this guy, maybe taken his classes, followed him on YouTube. Gary Vaynerchuk said it best, great marketing is all about telling your story in such a way that it compels people to want to buy what you are selling. And I use that image of the Yoda holding a bottle of wine there. Gary tells a famous story in that before he became famous as Gary V and the great marketer that he is, his company, actually, he worked for his family's wine business. And on December 23rd, the busiest day for alcohol sales, a customer called up and said, I never got my order. Where's my case of wine? So Gary, being a very decisive guy, found the order, hopped in his car, drove 3 hours through a snowstorm to deliver the case of wine, showed up at this lady's doorstep, handed her the wine. She said thanks, shut the door in his face, and he jumped back in his car and went back to work. Now, his family was pissed because he had left the store on the busiest day of the year and left them, you know, a person short. He didn't think anything of it. There was a problem. He solved the problem. Just as realtors, your clients have problems. You solve their problem. He solved the problem. What that woman did, she might not have tipped him. She might have slammed the door in his face, but she went around and told everybody what had happened. That story became legend. That story became the foundation of the level of customer service that his family's business was willing to provide. And I know when talking with realtors, every realtor and their brother tells me, oh, I provide exceptional customer service. You don't just say you provide exceptional customer service. You have to show that you're providing that customer service. Next one. And that's really important in your marketing. So when it comes to 2020 and adapting and thriving, everybody fell down the collective rabbit hole this year. It's just some of us landed better than others. You know, Dylan talked yesterday about how he's on track to have a great year. Some of my clients are having their best years ever. They had, you know, something like 8 contracts in April when everybody was on lockdown. I am unlike a lot of you in that, in addition to being a freelance writer, in addition to providing marketing services for the cadre of clients that I have in the marketing world, I also work full-time as a government spokesperson for a county agency. And we were deemed essential. And so I have not had a day off since COVID started. I don't know what the luxury was like to be at home. And most of you are probably saying it wasn't a luxury. I didn't know what that was like to get to stay home and bake bread, and because I had to actually go in and not only do work, but work harder than ever and still help my real estate clients and still do my freelance writing. So, but those that, as everybody went down the rabbit hole, the ones that landed better than others had existing systems in place. They already had a YouTube channel. They were already on Instagram. And if you don't, that's still okay. You can still get on track. But you definitely need to pick it up in terms of social media and with video as well. Next one, Ryan. And so the keys to digital storytelling, first and foremost, you want to be consistent and you want to be clear in your messaging. You're always, always clear and consistent. So if you're telling people, I'm going to do a video every Friday, you need to do a video every Friday. You also need to be authentic, and that gets back to talking in your own voice, talking about what you know, and provide relevant information. One of the trends is people for 2021 is that people really want what's useful, what's practical. And in providing all of that, it helps to differentiate yourself from your competitors. So I think my next slide illustrates a point about providing relevant information. So this is a LinkedIn post. I'm originally from Boston, and having lived here for a very long time, I was over the moon when Hawaiian announced a nonstop service to Boston. I mean, I was over the moon. And this is an example of posting information that's relevant to people, that they'll, when it's relevant, that you'll see your numbers go through the roof. This happened to break. I saw the news late at night. I instantly posted it everywhere, all over my social channels. I was truly excited. I called my mom at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here. It's like in morning time in Boston. I'm like, Mom, there's a new nonstop. She's like, here's my credit card, buy tickets. My mom's not tech savvy, so she was like, I want the tickets. You know, on Instagram, Ash talked yesterday about your social media score. I measure all my stats all the time. So I know that I get maybe 1,200 views on a typical LinkedIn post. I went to bed after posting this. And again, it's from an authentic source. It's from the newsroom of Hawaiian Airlines. So people could see this was trusted source information, because as a journalist, I only post information that I can source to be and know that's true. So I go to bed. I don't think twice about it. I wake up and I have 10,000 views. I'm like, that's weird. I think like maybe the counter's broken, like, because I usually only get 1,200 views. Came home that day, had 25,000 views. Within the next day, this single post about Hawaiian offering a nonstop service between Honolulu and Boston had generated 74,000 views on my LinkedIn post, on my LinkedIn feed. Now, what do you think happened to all my subsequent posts after that? I generated so much traffic that the subsequent posts that I published after that all saw increased traffic. Now, why is this direct air flight important to you as realtors? Well, like I said, I'm from Massachusetts. In the one neighborhood of my hometown where I'm from, I know of at least 4 people that are looking to move to Hawaii Island this year alone. They're near retirement age. They've traveled to Hawaii repeatedly. They like it here and they want to come. They're like, we're sick of the winters. We've put in our 20 or 25 years at our job and we want to come and now live the Hawaiian dream. So by promoting relevant, useful info about the fact that Hawaiian now has this nonstop flight, that's information people find useful. That's the importance of posting relevant information. You will see your traffic increase. Next one, Ryan. Yep, next slide. So in deciding where to do your digital storytelling, where are you the most comfortable? Do you want that one-on-one interaction where maybe you film a Zoom? Are you willing to do YouTube videos? Do you want to just hold up your camera and do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live? I know Mary, in one of the breakout sessions yesterday, was saying, I don't want to be on Instagram. You know, maybe you just have the bandwidth to be on Facebook. I totally get it. So pick the channel that you're most comfortable with and rock that channel the best that you can. And I have Twitter on here for a reason. Excuse me. I know Nobu and Shay made a comment Monday in passing, and they're like, oh, nobody's on Twitter. Which on the Big Island, honestly, in my opinion, very few people ever figured out how to use Twitter. Very few use it well to their advantage. But here's the thing. As a journalist, I also do a lot of PR for my real estate clients. And one of my clients had sold a multi-million-dollar property, and it had celebrity cachet attached to the property. I was able to get it featured in Variety magazine, the LA Times, a few other major outlets on the West Coast. That was all because of Twitter. I think I actually got it featured in the New York Times too. That was all through Twitter, because journalists in real estate sectors and journalists in general on the mainland don't give out their email addresses. They only give out their Twitter handles. And so Twitter is how the BBC found me and interviewed me during the 2018 eruption. I live in Puna, and the lava was flowing not that far from my home. It's how Al Jazeera English found me. There was 1 month where I was interviewed by both Hawaii News Now and KHON2 while I was in Boston. They found me both by hashtags I was using on Twitter. And then a few weeks later, back in Hawaii, I was interviewed by an NBC affiliate in Boston. Again, they found me through hashtags on Twitter. So depending upon what you're doing with your marketing, if you have an unusual property, you're trying to get mainland media coverage, Twitter is your friend. But locally, Facebook Live, your Instagram, YouTube, can't go wrong. So next one. Next. Yeah, there we go. So I started out in college as a TV radio major, and the picture on our left kind of embodies what our broadcast booth looked like back then. And today, everybody's a TV producer. All you have to do is hold up your camera. Doesn't mean everybody should be a TV producer, because if you're truly not comfortable with it, there are other ways you can go around that and still tell your story. So next one. And a lot of what I hear from people is, oh, I'm afraid of posting pictures that make me look bad, or I don't know, I'm self-conscious about this mole on my face or my nose or my teeth or whatever. The thing is, perfection's overrated. People want to see you. They want to know what you have to say. They want to know your expertise. They want to hear from you. And so there's been a lot of talk over the years about having that perfect Instagram feed, having your grid look great. My grid is real life. My Instagram is a reflection of me as a writer on Hawaii Island. And again, I went back and, I'm all about the stats. I measure everything. At the end of the year recently, I think this is 2 years ago, I was looking at my Instagram feed throughout the year, and it included going to a lot of luxury properties, touring the properties, showing pictures of these amazing homes, going to fabulous food festivals, coffee festivals, showing all this beautifully staged food and just really upscale stuff. And the number one viewed post on my Instagram feed that year was me walking my 4 dogs in the rain in Kau. Don't ask me why. I do have, my dogs are all big. My pack has since passed away. This is a couple of years ago. And I have all German Shepherds, a Rottweiler, Pit Bull. Walk all 4 of them at the same time. But in a curated feed that had tons of pretty pictures, the number one video on my Instagram account that year was me walking my dogs in Kau in the rain. I don't know why, but that's what resonated with people. So you never know. Perfection's overrated. So that's all I have to say about that. Next one, Ryan. So when we get into digital storytelling, as realtors, as brokers, as people that live in Hawaii, digital storytelling is our Kuleana. And at the last Global Tourism Summit that HTA held in Honolulu, and they brought in tourism experts from around the planet, they talked about the fact that when people come to visit here, they want more than just beach and sand and mai tais. They really want to connect deeper with the land. They want to connect with the Aina. When they come to visit, and this is based on marketing surveys that have been done by agencies around the world. They want to give back to the communities that they're visiting. They want to feel connected to the communities that they're visiting. And they want to do more in-depth experiences, go on those ag tours, go off the beaten path. So why is this important to real estate? Because I'm talking about tourism and visitors, because a lot of repeat visitors, as you all know, then decide that they want to move here, especially now. They're like, the heck with the mainland. Hawaii is a safe place. It's beautiful. We've been there many times. We want to come. So it's our Kuleana to share the stories of the land, to share our mana'o about these islands, and that also helps to differentiate you as a realtor within your market. So next one. Oh, Hawaii Rooted is a program that was put out by HTA where they actually identified cultural practitioners on each island, and they did really deep storytelling, creating videos and blog posts and Instagram posts about each of those practitioners on the island, and that program started like 2 years ago. So, sorry, Ryan. Next one. So before you pick up your phone and you hit record, you need to know 3 things. First, why are you recording? Why are you taking this video? What is your goal of this video? What's your message? Who are you trying to reach? What do you want to say? Don't just pick up your phone and start talking. That never ends well. In storytelling in general, you always have a hero of the story. There's some kind of conflict, and then it gets resolved. So who is your hero? Is it you as the realtor saving the day? Is it the client? Is the hero the home having some special feature? Is the hero the community? What is the hero of your story? And tell what you know. Don't tell other people's stories. Tell your own story, because you are the best person to tell your story. And I know Cindy was talking about, hiring marketing people, and goodness knows, I bless my clients. They hire me and I tell their stories for them, but I will never be able to tell their stories as well as they do. And so I spend a lot of time with my clients really actively listening. What are the words that they say? What are the phrases that they say? What are they doing, so that when I write on their behalf, it sounds like them. It sounds natural, as if you're talking to them. And, honestly, a lot of realtors I know will hire mainland companies to handle their marketing for them. And I can't tell you, oh my gosh, it makes my brain hurt. I have seen property management and real estate companies hire mainland firms, and they post pictures of the Nepali coastline when they're promoting Kona properties. And I've seen them not use Hawaiian words because they don't know how to spell them, or they're using them incorrectly. I've just seen nightmare issues with that. There are lots of amazing and talented people on the islands that do what I do. Not lots, but a fair amount. So, that's my plug to support local business. If you are going to hire somebody to help tell your story, hire somebody local, because we are unique out here. And why, also key is, why are you telling the story? What is the problem that you're solving, and what's the payoff? And you're always, always, always focused on the you of your clients. Next one, Ryan. It is so much better. Oh, okay. Before I get into that story, let me get into the story. There's lots of stories about homes that you can sell. Every home has a story. I actually wrote this article for Keola magazine. I had seen a contemporary home passing by, and it was somewhere in Lower Puna, and I couldn't remember where I had seen it. And I actually I spent like a fair amount of time trying to find this home years later. And it was kind of like turned into a Don Quixote quest for me. Finally found it, interviewed the homeowner. There's a whole cluster of contemporary homes in a neighborhood in Lower Puna where you would totally not expect them. And they're magnificent pieces of architecture. And it just so happened that when I actually found the house that I'd been searching for years, the fellow had it on the market. So this magazine article hit the newsstands right when the property was being listed for sale. Totally coincidental, but I know that their broker was sure happy that I had found them then. But in terms of, you know, ideas for your storytelling, every single home that you sell has a story. Next one. And so when you're describing those sales, you're describing the homes and you're describing the communities, what are your frequently asked questions? And this is going to be a freaking goldmine for you. If you do nothing else after this class, I really hope you take this one piece of advice. What are your FAQs? What are the most asked questions that you receive from potential clients? And what you do is you write them down, your top 5 questions, your top 10 questions, and you pick up your phone and you make a video. It can be a Facebook Live. You can just record it to post to multiple places afterwards. Shoot short videos answering every single one of these FAQs that you have. How do you do this? How do I move to Hawaii with pets? How do I find local schools? How do they find a good bakery? Are there local butcher shops? Whatever your FAQs are, make short 1 to 2 minute videos, because if you get these questions often enough, every time you get them in the future, you're going to be, hey, here's a link to a video I made on that exact same topic. You come across as the subject matter expert. You recognize that this is a need that they have, and you already have a video explaining it. And that's evergreen content. You can just you post it to YouTube, you post it on Facebook. Here's some FAQs. And so they're like, wow, you understand that I have these concerns. You're great to work with. You know, just it makes for a happier client. As I said, I work as a spokesperson for a government agency. And when I started in that position, excuse me, I went around to every division. It's a very large group. Went around to every division. I said, what are your top 5 questions and that you receive the most often? And then I, in turn, created social media campaigns for each one of those questions. So every month, how do you report a pothole in your community? How do you report a broken street light? What do I do if I find a dead pig on the road? Who do I call? And believe me, I know more about roadkill than I would care to, but that's a question that comes up all the time at work. So I've created a campaign. Every month I post these things, and it cuts down on the number of calls that the staff receive, and it educates the public, and helps us appear proactive as well. Next one, Ryan. So FAQs, important. So next. So in terms of telling the story of the house, in terms of telling, explaining how you solve a problem. Congrats to Jane and Tom, who took advantage of low interest rates and were able to upgrade to a larger home with a 3rd bedroom. Here's how they did it, as opposed to the next slide. Yeah. So everybody's seen these postcards, right? In fact, I just got an email from the post office. I get email alerts when there's mail sitting in my P.O. box, and I know that I have a real estate postcard sitting in there going, just sold about a property. And it says just sold. But getting back to, what Nobu was saying and what some of the discussion was yesterday, go back one, please, Brian. People would much rather hear the story. And this is where you tell your story. I very specifically had it worded like this. Congrats to Jane and Tom, who took advantage of low interest rates. We all know that rates are super low. They're record lows right now. They were able to upgrade to a larger home with a 3rd bedroom. And here's how they did it. Because by phrasing it this way, your clients see themselves in this text. They see themselves, they're like, we want to upgrade. We need a third bedroom because suddenly my wife, my husband is now having to work from home full time. We really need that extra space. It's not working setting up a laptop in the kitchen with the kids and the pets and the madness surrounding. So people have really realized during this, the shutdowns and the lockdowns, that the home is super important. That's why we're seeing so much demand. That's, why Dylan sold his house in a day. Where people are buying homes sight unseen. Now they're buying homes sight unseen in the luxury market. And I think we had this discussion. I don't know if Julie Zeemless or Eric Zeemless is on the call. They have a great page about moving to Kona. Had a discussion at lower price points. It might be an issue of people not being willing to buy a house sight unseen, but at the higher price points, your 2, your 3, your 5, 6 million, their clients are buying homes sight unseen. They are not buying communities unknown to them. They are buying the house via FaceTime, via a Zoom, whatever, but they know the communities that they're moving into because they are repeat visitors to Hawaii. So it's important that while they might be buying the property sight unseen, they're not buying the community sight unseen. They really know the community. But you want your messaging to be focused on your clients, not, if you go back to the next slide, Ryan, the just sold, yay, you got money. You just made a commission. But whoop-de-doo. But the previous slide says, hey, I want to upgrade my home. We need the extra space. I want to know how I can do that as well. So the focus is on the customer, and that's where you always want it to be. So if you can just skip ahead there, Ryan. Yeah, so don't be that guy. Do not also be this person. These are actual images from actual social media posts from realtors in Hawaii. They will remain nameless. But if you're selling real estate in Hawaii, specifically oceanfront, and you're posting this kind of material, and these are real pictures, like I can't make this stuff up, you're automatically going to turn off your clients because these are not reflective of Hawaii. So don't do this either. So next one. So getting into the storytelling, getting into sharing that mana'o, sharing that knowledge about the land and because each of our islands are different. I spent 12 years working statewide, and I've worked extensively on Kauai. I lived on Maui for 10 years. I've lived on the Big Island for about 15 years now. Each island is unique. Each island is different. People are seeking them out for different reasons. And Ryan, maybe you can tell me in the comments, does anybody know how the plant and the fish in this slide are connected? Anybody? The picture on the left is of a hapu'u fern, and the picture on the right is the Hawaiian sea bass. Its Hawaiian name is hapu'upu'u. Anybody?
We've got no guesses yet.
Okay. And so how does this relate to selling a luxury home, right? So next slide, Ryan. The hapu'u and the hapu'upu'u are actually named in the Kumulipo. Has anybody heard of the Kumulipo before? It's the Hawaiian creation chant. Anybody, Ryan? Anybody raising their digital hand?
Richard Henderson said both are hapu'u.
So as everybody knows, ancient pre-contact Hawaii was had oral history. And so the Kumulipo is a 2,000 line text of the Hawaiian creation chant. It describes everything in the Hawaiian universe, how everything came to be within the Hawaiian universe, from the stars, the heavens, to our mountains, to the snow, everything on the land and everything in the ocean. And in the Kumulipo, everything on the land has a counterpart in the ocean, and they look after each other and take care of each other, and they're usually similarly named. So if you go back to the previous slide, Ryan, the hapu'u is, and then the fish is the hapu'upu'u, So in the Kumulipo, they are linked. And if you read the Kumulipo, it will describe every single plant and animal and fish in the known Hawaiian universe. How does this relate to a $13 million property? Well, the hapu'u is also a canoe plant. So when the original Polynesian settlers came here, they brought a select number of plants with them called canoe plants, and the hapu'u is one of them. So when the owners of a property that was sold by one of my clients, listed by one of my clients, they very mindfully landscaped this luxury property with canoe plants, with the sole intention of being able to discuss the canoe plants and showcase Hawaiian history and culture to their dinner guests and as they were entertaining. So they were very mindful in landscaping of this property to feature canoe plants. And then then they could in turn, impress their dinner guests with stories about the Kumulipo and such. And from a marketing point of view, I kind of jumped on this because very few people really pay that level of attention to the plants in their landscaping in a property. They might have some tea plants. Tea plants are not a canoe plant. They are actually, they came over, but the tea plants are different. I actually in turn then pitched this as a magazine article, and it became a magazine article where I talked about native landscaping, and that's the other picture that you see in the next slide. So every home has a story, whether it's the landscaping, whether it's the home itself. Next one, Ryan. So, and now you know a little bit about canoe plants. And also, each part of Hawaii has unique items, unique history, unique plants that you as a realtor can discuss and make videos of and showcase. It helps differentiate you as really, if you know about your trees in your neighborhood, you really know the neighborhood that you are selling, the community that you are selling. And so the Puna Paia ala Kahala is actually in the forefront. You can see some of the hala trees there, and probably most people around the state have seen hala trees. And as I think most people know, maybe they don't, but when you see hala trees, that's always an indication that there are lava tubes underneath. So whenever I'm out walking around and I see a vacant lot for sale and I see a lot of hala trees, I'm like, there's a reason why that lot hasn't sold yet, because there's probably all kinds of lava tubes underneath. They might not be able to build a home on top. But the hala trees in Puna have a particular scent. And so in generations past, and still in some Hawaiian homes today, homes will have lahala mats. But in Puna, they actually would take the lahala mats and line like maybe up to a foot on the walls. And so the Puna Paia ala Kahala is actually the fragrance of the hala on the winds. But the Paia in the middle there is a wall. So it actually talks about what they would do in Puna is they would put the hala flowers in that little space between the hala mat and the wall. So when people walked into the homes, it would smell like the hala flowers. And the hala trees in Puna specifically smell differently than the flowers of hala trees anywhere else in the state. They have a very unique sense in Kalapana. And so that is the Puna Paia ala Kahala of the lower Puna area. The hala flowers there smell differently than anybody else. So each one of you as realtors, you have stories like that in your community. And so if you go and you're making short videos, or you're just sitting there on a Friday having a Facebook Live talking about this, people are thirsty for this kind of knowledge. People that are moving here want to know about the history and culture of Hawaii, because all too often the people coming here, they don't know this stuff. And so as a local resident, as somebody that lives, whether you're on Kauai, there's tons of stories about Kauai, on Maui, Lanai, Molokai, Oahu, wherever you are on the Big Island, there's all this mana'o that you can share that helps differentiate you and set you apart as a realtor. You're not just selling a home, you're selling the experience of the community that they're moving into. So next one. So Hualālai Resort did a really good job and continues to do a really good job with this. When the pandemic hit, Hualālai Resort, like everybody else, shut down. But unlike any other resort on the island, they started an Instagram live series. They do one a week. They started in March and they're continuing it. And they showcase different aspects of the resort. They showcase culture. They showcase natural resources. They showcase food, how to make certain drinks. So the picture on the left is one of their executive assistants showing how to make a lei. The picture on the right there is a chef, one of the chefs showing how to make stuffed lobster. They've had their bartenders show how to make certain drinks. And they at the beginning of the month, they say, here are our speakers, here are the topics, whether it's, you can join the Instagram live in doing yoga, but they're bringing their corner of the world to the world when we were shut down and nobody could come visit us. And they're continuing on. It's had great success. So that's an example of how you could share digital storytelling with your clients. Just like Dylan was saying, his Facebook Fridays turned into an organic thing. And I loved the story that Nui and Ash shared yesterday about how they're doing their bi-weekly Facebook wine, and to partner with a local liquor company. That's just genius. So I was super thrilled to hear. Ash has taken some of my social media courses in the past. I was just super thrilled to hear about them doing that, because that's awesome. That's just absolutely spot on. So next one, Ryan. Next. There we go. More storytelling ideas. You know, as I kind of have this dual hat where I do marketing for real estate and I'm also a spokesperson. So as a government spokesperson, I actually actively reach out to those real estate influencers that I know. I reach out to the West Hawaii Association of Realtors. I reach out to Hawaii Island Realtors. When there's a road project coming up, when we have community meetings, I let them know, because I want them to share it within their sphere of influence so that the community's informed. And I very specifically share it with real estate influencers because I know they have huge audiences and can reach people quickly. And it's a win-win. So for instance, the picture on the left is actually a state project where they installed a new traffic light. And that is the only road going from Hilo to Volcano. It's the only road that will get you to all of Lower Puna, to all of Upper Puna. About 50,000 people take that road every day to commute in and out of Hilo to get to work. So state put out a notice. We're going to turn on the traffic light come Monday. Even though it's not a county project, even though it's a state thing, I put out a notice. Hey, I put it all over our social channels repeatedly. Hey, this traffic light's coming. This traffic light's coming. The picture on the right is what happened Monday. And for anybody who's watching from the Big Island, you know what happened Monday. This picture of the backed up traffic is actually more than 4 miles away from where the traffic light was turned on, and traffic was backed up. It took people 2.5 hours to get home. 2 hours, 15 minutes. I wound up staying in town to 7:15 on Monday night just so I could avoid that traffic. It was nuts. But in terms of your digital storytelling, think outside the box of not just next one, Ryan, not just sunsets and beaches, but and you know, both Nobu and Dylan alluded to neighborhood tours. Talk about neighborhood issues. The picture in the lower right is a community meeting about code changes, and that impacts home builders. So if people want to come here, they want to build their own home, they need to know what code changes are happening, because that's going to impact their bottom line. And when we had those community meetings, I actually sent out invitations to West Hawaii Association of Realtors, and when we had meetings in Hilo to HIR to let them know. Also, share stories about what's going on in your community. Here on the Big Island, you know, lots of people are moving here for work from home. The Hawaii County Council recently passed a non-binding resolution banning 5G technology. So while the rest of the world is all about connectivity and working from home and having great internet, our local county council has banned 5G technology. So it's a non-binding resolution, so it doesn't really have much teeth, but it doesn't bode well when we already have connectivity issues and our elected officials don't want to improve the infrastructure to do it. Another thing about neighborhood issues, and I always find a way to include my pets somehow in my slide presentations. The picture with Koji with Santa is Howling Holidays. It is the largest pet event in East Hawaii of the entire year. It's been going on for over 12 years now, I think. I've been to every single one of them. You get free pet pictures with Santa, which is amazing. It's like the only place you can get free pet pictures with Santa and not have to wait at the mall. Silent auction, they had dog agility, all this great stuff. More people have pets than they have kids. So I know Dylan was like, I don't have pets, so I don't know how to answer questions, but most people are very passionate about bringing their pets. How do I move to Hawaii with my pets? Where are pet-friendly beaches? Where are the dog parks? Where are parks where I can walk my pet? Where can I find a dog trainer? Where's the best, where are pet events? There's, of course, all this has gone out the window in 2020, but, go beyond the neighborhood tours and do digital stories. Do a Facebook Live about the issues affecting the neighborhoods in which you're selling your property. Next one. So I want to dive a little bit into some meat and potatoes about 2021 trends. Consumers now more than ever, including real estate buyers, are socially conscious. I know over the summer, it seemed like every day my inbox was getting jam-packed with corporate statements from this business and that business about how they are responding to the Black Lives Matter movement, how they are responding to this movement. And I was like, really, Starbucks is making a statement, or, some craft business is making a statement? People expect transparency and leadership of major brands, including brokerages. They want to see that the companies are walking their talk. They want to see what issues are important to a brand, whatever those issues are. Maybe a company is focused on conservation. They're focused on giving back to the community. And I'll dive into each of these separately. But I just want to give you an overview on this slide. Also, useful content, your FAQs. Useful content trumps pretty pictures any day of the week. Pretty pictures are nice. We all love them. This also ties in with another thing that I don't list here, is a trend that we're seeing is nostalgia marketing. Nostalgia marketing has been big for 2020. It's going to continue to be big in 2021. With so much uncertainty in the world, people want to go back to what makes them happy, what they know, what's comfortable. And so people that are coming here repeatedly, that have nice, warm, fuzzy memories of visiting Hawaii, and now they want to move here, though, that's where your pretty pictures cater to that nostalgia marketing. Third is voice command search. This is going to be super important in 2021. And then video. Video's not a trend. It's here. You have to be on the video bandwagon. It stopped being a trend and started being the new normal like 5-10 years ago. So if you're not on video, it's so simple to learn. Click a button, but click the record button mindfully. Know your messaging, know what you want to say, who you're saying it to. Next one. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the socially conscious aspect of the trend, because if your brokerage looks like the picture on the left and you're talking about diversity, you don't understand what diversity means. And I almost didn't share this story, but I wanted to share this story because it could happen. It could easily happen in lots of places. One of my classmates is African American. She lives nearby. She still lives like one town over from where we grew up. She posted a story that was an experience had by her cousin. Her cousin is Black. The husband's Black, financially well-to-do. went to go look at a home that had been in the family. It's in a town called Marshfield, back in Massachusetts. Middle of the road kind of town. There are very high net worth towns nearby, and there are certainly less well-to-do towns nearby. And Marshfield's kind of the middle of the road. This particular couple lived right outside of Boston. They're financially secure enough that they wanted to buy this home. This home had been in the family. Somebody had bought it. The wife had memories of being there when she was a kid with like her grandparents and great-grandparents. And so the couple was actually not only going back for nostalgia's sake to go to an open house. The house came on the market. They were going to visit it, not just for nostalgia's sake, but also they had cash in hand. They wanted to buy it. They wanted to bring the house back into the family, buy it as a second home, and bring it back into the family. It did not go well at the open house. I'll leave it at that. Police were called. Posts were made. The local newspaper picked up on it. The local news station picked up on it. The realtor was following it was a white realtor, it was a black couple. The realtor was following the couple throughout the home, shushing them and discouraging them from talking about the property and basically making the couple feel unwelcome. And remember, they had cash in hand. They wanted to buy this house. She basically shooed them out. It did not go well. That realtor, to this day, all of her social channels are done. I don't even think her website is still up. Her Google ratings have plunged. She just got crucified in the local media. And this happened months ago, and she is still suffering the backlash of that. And, you know, I dug deep into this, and I went and before everything, all of her channels were shut down, I went and I looked in, because she hired a PR firm, and she issued a statement. She said how she's involved in diversity and whatnot. And I went through all of her pictures, and her pictures of all of her clients. Oh, congratulations to this couple who bought this home, and congratulations to my buyers, my sellers. They were all white. Everybody was white. It was white. So not as much an issue because we're more diverse here in Hawaii, but you can't be issuing statements after the fact about how you're a diverse brokerage, you work with diverse audiences, and every single client you post is white, and your team looks like the picture on the left. That doesn't cut it in today's market, and people expect transparency and honesty from the brands, the companies that they're doing business with. So that was something that happened over the summer. And, you know, I teach classes on reputation management. I teach classes on managing online reviews. And if you get to the point where you have to hire a PR crisis team, it's kind of already too late. You know, so bottom line, if you're issuing statements about diversity, you better have a diverse team. So next one. So another trend, people aren't just talking about social issues, they're also talking about charitable causes. And, you know, there's a Facebook group over here where there's like 25,000 people, and it's all about the Big Island. And there's probably every hour on the hour a post. I'm moving from the mainland. I'm thinking Kauai. I'm thinking Maui. I'm thinking the Big Island. I can't decide which island I want to be on. Or I know I'm moving to the Big Island. I want to be involved in this or that. What's available in the community? And I have the picture of the seal because the Big Island is the only island in the state that has a Hawaiian monk seal facility. It's called the Marine Mammal Center. Their parent facility is on the mainland. I actually used to be a volunteer there many moons ago. Back in college, I volunteered at the Marine Mammal Center in Sausalito in California. And I actually wrote an article about them before they opened up the Monk Seal Hospital. And so when people are looking to move here, maybe you don't really know what that deciding factor may be. Some people, when they move to Kona, I definitely want to move to Kona. But if you knew that you could work with monk seals, like, to me, I would be like, if my choice is Kauai or Kona, but if I live in Kona, I get to work with monk seals, then I'd be all over that. And what neighborhood is near that facility so I don't have to drive too far, right? And it made me think, and actually, I don't think I've ever shared this. I've been in Hawaii about 26 years, and I was very young and very naive when I moved to Hawaii, and just jumped over. But initially, I was supposed to move to Kauai. People were pushing me to move to Kauai. And, at the time, I did a lot of writing about nautical history, and specifically 18th century whaling history, of which, growing up near Nantucket and Fall River, that was, the world capital of whaling back in the day. And so instead of landing on Kauai, I landed in Lahaina. And I landed because that was the capital back then of 18th century whaling. And I actually collect the diaries of ship captains' wives, 18th century ship captains' wives from New England. There's actually a bigger field in that than you can imagine. And have written extensively about it. And so that's how I wound up in Lahaina. So you never know what that deciding factor is going to be. And by writing about the charitable organizations in your area, or the ways that people can volunteer because they really do want to give back. And so telling the digital stories about that is another great avenue of wealth of potential stories that can be there. So next slide, and I think I'm just about to wrap it up. Really quick, big trend. By the end of next year, 70% of all online searches will be done by voice command. That's really important because, next slide, Ryan. Knowing that 70% of all searches are by voice command, it's absolutely critical that your website content, your social content, your blogging, your videos, you need to make sure that it's voice search compatible. Focus on your long tail keywords. Think natural words. Think how people talk naturally. Hi, which, how, which, what. You want to make sure that your content is scannable for those long tail searches. And so before in SEO is all about the 1 to 3 keywords, and now it's more like 5 to 7 keywords. But you still want to think short paragraphs. You still want to think simple sentences. Also, to make sure that your voice search compatible, make sure your Google My Business listing is just absolutely on steroids. Make sure you really pump that up. Know the commands. If you use Siri, there's actually an online manual you can read to know the A to Z of Siri commands. So you can take advantage of that, your OK commands, your Cortana commands. So next one. So really get into that. And to recap, again, the keys to digital storytelling: be consistent, be clear, be yourself. Only you can be yourself. Be authentic. Be relevant by providing useful information. Think your FAQs, and do so in a way that's going to differentiate yourself from your competition. And that about wraps it up for me. Next one, Ryan. So if there's any questions, I'll hang out in the chat room afterwards. And final slide. Bring it on home if you want to reach me. Next one, Ryan. There we go. I post a lot of great content on my Facebook page, my DLC Hawaii media page. You can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I don't hang out on YouTube as much as I should, but I focus my videos on Instagram and Facebook. And thank you for having me today. And just a pleasure. I love working with realtors. I love working with small business. Super excited to be part of this Adapt and Thrive, because that's what we're all doing this year. So good luck to all of you.
All right.
Thanks to a better 2021.
Absolutely. I think it'll be similarly transformative, but in a good way. Thank you, Denise. That was really jam-packed with some very good information, stuff that I hadn't thought about, stuff that I've learned about the Big Island, which is not that I should say this in front of realtors, somewhere I want to live someday. So, like you said, you'll be in the stage chat room here where everybody else can interact. So if they have questions for you, I think that's a good venue for that. But I would encourage people to seek you out online on all of your channels as well.
And I forgot to say, I am teaching 3 social media
That's
classes
right.
for the Small Business Development Center of Hilo starting next week. They will be all online. I'm teaching about social media marketing. I'm doing one whole class. The first one, I'm talking about content creation, content management. I'm also doing a whole class just on Facebook ads. So if people want to learn, the classes are super affordable. They're much cheaper than they were just earlier this year because of COVID and everything. I think it's $10 a class, $25 if you sign up in advance for all 3. You can go to hisbdc.org. It's the Hawaii Island SBDC in Hilo. I want to say their phone number is 933-0076, something like that. But you can look them up, SBDC Hilo. Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. And again, you can post that link in the chat. And the good thing about these online classes is you can be on Kauai and take a Hilo class. So why not?
Exactly. So yeah.
Kimberly is asking for that link. Have a good rest of your morning. If you can stick around, you can hear Nobu Hata.
Will do. I'm looking forward to it because I love Nobu's talk on Monday.
Yep. Thank you, Denise.
Aloha.
Aloha.